This pandemic is 100% specifically designed to go after bartenders, right? There's very few businesses and very few industries that would be hit as hard as bartenders. More than restaurants, more than waiters, more than chefs, more than plumbers, more than dry cleaners, more than auto mechanics, more than everybody. It's specifically designed to go after bartenders. And you could say the same thing about hairdressers, and that's true, but there's not necessarily, I mean, we're way bigger and we put way more money in the economy, right? There's 700,000 bartenders in the United States, and that's just bartenders. It's not all the people who work around bars, right? And I'm getting to Mike Pence, so bear with me. So, when the pandemic happened, when we shut down and everybody, well, most people, not everybody, but a lot of places had to shut down, right? And we were all suffering together and it sucked. And it's like, okay, so it sucked for us, but it sucked for everybody. And then they made us open back up. And for all of you who want to say, well, they didn't make you, it's like, you're right. They didn't make me, but they took away the cover that I had for not being open because of basically a disease that's spreading through people when they gather. They took away that cover. So when that cover was gone, it's like saying, okay, let's say I'm a GI in World War I and I'm hiding behind a rock, and someone takes the rock away and I start running and I get shot, right? And so at the end of it, I'm like, well, they're like, well, why'd you run? I'm like, well, I had to run. They made me run. It's like, well, nobody made you run. It's like, well, yeah, I could have sat there with no rock in front of me when everybody's shooting, but I had to fucking run because they took away the rock. So they took away our cover, thus compelling us to run. And we ran to open because we had to. We tried to do it really reasonably and responsible and well. And you guys have heard this story, and some of you have lived it. And if you haven't lived it yet, you probably will. It's because a bunch of fucking people who didn't want to do the right thing all got together and acted badly, and now we're back here. And this is where we're going to bring Pence back into it, because I want to contextualize for you what it is that's actually happening now. And the reason I brought all this stuff up, right, like the stuff with me and the bartenders, is my community is not just the bar that I own and I work in that's closed down, because that's true. And it's not just the health of the bar community in Houston, which is where this bar is, and the place that I've worked really hard to become a part of, and now I know and love way better, and have a bunch of people that I know and love way better than I did, right? So it's not just my immediate community. Because of my specific role in the bar community, which is training bartenders how to be bartenders, I know thousands of bartenders all around the world. I've worked very hard with a lot of bartenders all around the world to say, here's how you can be better, not just at this job, but also here's the things that you're not really thinking about. And if you think about them, then when you go that and take that into a new career that you want to get into, or further down the line in this one, you'll go way farther, because I wasn't able to think about it until I was older than you, because no one fucking told me. So I'm going to tell you. Right? So luckily for me, I know a ton of bartenders, and I've worked with a lot of them, and in some I've just trained, but in the ones that I've trained, I've gotten a lot of people who I've had, hopefully, at least I work real hard to be a positive impact on their lives. So when you have a disease that's specifically designed to attack bartenders, you're attacking my direct community, my people. And it's not just the ones here around me, it's the ones all over the place, all over the world, that I know and that I've been lucky enough to be able to interact with and have some kind of effect on them, right? So I said, now it's coming back to Pence. So when Mike Pence said that about bars, and he didn't do it with a sneer, but when regular people talk about bars, especially when you get kind of like Christian guys like him, who are like, the moralistic type ones, it's easy to look at bars as those places. It's like, oh, those places. It's like when you're a kid and you drive by and you're like, well, there's the video store, and there's the, that's where the corner store is, and then there's that one place that doesn't have a sign on it, and we drive past real fast, and I always say, Mom, what's that? And she's like, that's not for you, don't worry about it. Okay, cool. Like, that's the don't worry about it door. We're behind the don't worry about it door. When you become a grown-up, it's a different door, and you use it for different reasons, but there's still some people who never get out of that mindset, right? And I believe Mike Pence is one of those people, though I don't know. But with these second shutdowns, almost exclusively, they're only asking bars. They're only saying bars shut down. So it makes some sense in that these are the most egregious pictures of you see people gathering. And you'll see people gathering at like on a beach, just looking like a bunch of fucking toads because they're all there, and we're all sitting there with our masks on, going like, "My God, what's going on?" But you can't really close down beaches, and if you do, it's just like a different deal. And there's not as many of them, right? There's not as many opportunities for not as many opportunities for people to transmit things. So people are all worried about the 4th of July, and they should, because everyone's going to go and do stupid shit. But in bars they can do stupid shit every night. And they were in Texas and Florida, in places in California, in places in Pennsylvania, in places in Ohio, in Arizona, in all these places now they're saying, fuck, we have to close down. And what they're doing is altruistic in its purpose. What they're saying to us basically, and I need you to think of it in these terms. What they're saying is, we need you guys to do something for the health and safety of your whole city and your whole state. We need you guys, and you being the bar owners, the bartenders, everyone who works around a bar, right? The barbacks, the porters, the servers, anyone who works in those kitchens, all those places. They went to an entire industry and people in the state of Texas. We'll just say Texas, right? The entire industry, and said, to preserve the health and safety of your community and your cities and your state, you guys have to sacrifice yourselves. We need you to risk everything you've ever worked for. We need you to risk your careers. We need you to risk your businesses. We need you to risk your marriages. We need you to risk getting kicked out of your homes. Like, we need you to get to the point where you can have zero income long enough for us to get a hold of this disease, so we can kind of like, push it down enough that we can all be safe. We can all be safe. So they went to all the bars in Texas and said, you guys, and in fact, it's not like they asked. It's not like they asked us to be these superheroes, right? They didn't ask us if we would sacrifice ourselves for the good of our community. It was such an imperative need that the state said, you must do it. You must lay down on those tracks, because if someone doesn't lay on those tracks and maybe get hit by a train and die, and I'm really sorry if you're going to die. I'm really sorry. But the fact remains, if someone doesn't do it, if someone doesn't lay down on those tracks, then all of these other people could die, and that's just not acceptable. So you have to lay down on those tracks for us. And you don't have a choice. You have to do it. And this is from the highest to the lowest of us, right? This is from the people who are like, look, I scraped together everything I ever earned to get just enough money to open this bar. It's my life's dream. And they're like, I'm sorry. Like, you have to put it at risk. Or you get someone who's like, look, I've been putting myself through fucking law school, and I gave every cent I make goes to this thing. And the only way I make money, and I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry to squash your dream, but you probably won't get to be a lawyer, because you probably won't have another job where you can do that. Take it all the way down the line. Take it all the way down the line. Every single person has been told they have to sacrifice their careers, the future of a career, because, it's another thing to know about me. Like, bartenders are my career. So if there's fewer bartenders in so many different places, I'm like, that's fewer people to make into bartenders. I mean, it might be a growth industry in one sense, but I'm not like thinking that far ahead. So an entire an entire state, backed up by the Vice President of the United States, says, don't worry, guys, your bars have you. They got your back. They're going to risk everything they have, every cent they have, so you guys don't have to die. Because that's where we're at. That's what's happening. They came to us and said, you have to risk it all. In fact, all of these businesses, they all have insurance. They have to have insurance. You can't not have insurance, otherwise your landlord will kick you out, right? And they have business interruption insurance. So in theory, they're just like, well, I mean, you should have planned better. And like, well, we had fucking insurance. What the fuck else am I going to plan for? There's a little line in everyone's insurance clause, like somewhere in that big stack of papers you get. It's called a pandemic clause. So after, I think it was 2015, and I believe it was SARS, the insurance companies were like, well, if there ever was a real pandemic in this country, we'd be fucked. So we're putting a rider in every single Every single gathering space that has insurance has a rider in there that says pandemics do not pay. So not one insurance company in the United States, in all of these shutdowns and all of this stuff, not one insurance company has paid a nickel to any bar who's paid however much money into those companies, because we're supposed to be responsible and have insurance just in case bad shit happens, right? So not only were we ordered to close, all of the people who were around us, who were basically there to protect us in case bad things happen, all of them are like, but we didn't say this. So insurance companies are like, basically like, fuck you, don't even file, because we will not pay you. And so we've been ordered to sacrifice ourselves, our entire industry, for the good of our community. And we get what is it's not like they came and said, you know what, guys, thank you so much. Thank you, because, you know, and we'll do anything we can to make sure we can help you survive as an industry, because it's a really shitty thing that somebody has to fucking die, and we hope it's not you, but somebody might have to die. And we've picked you out as an industry across the fucking country. Almost the only one. In Texas, there was two. There's two. Bars had to close and river rafting organizations had to close. Those two. So it's us and the river rafters who literally have to say, like, okay, we are going to die as businesses. We're going to die as you know, as literally as an industry in some sense. We are going to die sometimes as people. Because, you know, poverty kills. You know, there's whole swaths of people who work in bars that very soon there's going to be no unemployment, there's going to be no jobs, and, you know, it's not like every landlord in the country is just like, actually, you know what, just stay in your house for free until we figure it all out. Like, those times are gone, because they didn't shut down everybody, they just shut down us and put no protections in place to protect us for doing that. No one came and said, we need you to do this for us so everyone can survive, and we'll do one step, one thing to make sure that you can take care of yourself, or God forbid, God fucking forbid, that we as a society who you are sacrificing yourself for do anything to take care of you. And that's what I got from the vice president today. That's the connection that I made. Because, you know, there's clearly lots of kinds of people in the world. You know, there's clearly people who care enough, right? Because, you know, you guys are all here. You know, it's not like you all work in bars. It's not like you all even come here. You know, you're interested enough, and you're around enough, and you think about it enough, and you're like, oh, this is great, like whatever. So, you know, I don't doubt that people in society are looking and saying, like, you know, oh my God, that really sucks for bars. But no one is really making the next two connections, right? No one's making the next two connections saying, like, oh, okay, so we you know, what? Because all they're saying is like, okay, bars are closed, so now it's going to be fine. And they're putting up a picture of shithead bar full of shithead people acting like shitheads and putting that on the news like this and saying, like, see, now that's gone. And I'm like, okay, that was 0.5% of every bar in Houston. And yeah, they're shitheads, and yeah, they're full of shitheads, and yeah, they were a big problem. But to say that every bar is like that, and to say that and to present to people that that's what's at risk, is like, oh, we don't have to deal with that anymore. Oh my God, awesome. There's a nightclub across the street from my house, and maybe they'll shut down forever. Great. It's all of the rest of everything else, all of the rest of every other thing, you know. And I'm bringing this up because not only did I have that kind of as an epiphany, right? You know, I've been delivering a series of messages, and I have more to deliver, and I wanted to kind of explain why I'm delivering it so often, because, you know, it's getting to the point it's going to suffer from diminishing returns. Like, no one's going to want to just sit there and listen to me rant on video anymore, because it's like, okay, like, we heard you the first 5 times, Neff. Like, we heard you. Yes, Neff thinks we're all in trouble. Like, let's go back and have another martini class. I'm like, if you have been hit by a car and your arm fell off and you're bleeding out, you're just going to keep screaming. What you don't want to hear from the people around you is like, why does that guy keep yelling so much? Like, what's the deal? Like, can't we just sit over here and have brunch? It's like, no, you can't fucking brunch because you're not going to have a place to have brunch. And if you do, it's going to have shitty cocktails because anyone who knows how to make one is going to be out of work. And you're going to have a super famous bartender working at a shitty bar because they're just like, look, I had to work somewhere. And I kicked out all these other motherfuckers underneath me because I'm the top dog. And that means I get to do brunch because they make $150 on a Saturday. It's going to be on a national scale, and it happened because they told us that we have to sacrifice what we do for the good of our community. And for no other reason. It's not because we're bad. It's not because we were irresponsible. It's not because we did anything wrong. It's not because we are more responsible for the spread of COVID-19 than anywhere else. We just take better pictures. And what do you fucking expect? Because we're bartenders, and we're in bars, and people are having a great time. Of course the pictures are going to be great. And they're going to be great for whatever you want to use them for. You want Sin City? Got you. You want a little community seat? Like, got you too. But Pa says, what's up? Good to see you. Good to see you too, bud. Stacy, love you back. Is a USB? I'm glad you brought up the USPG. I'm glad you brought up the USPG because I was thinking about them today, and I was thinking about bringing that up too. But as we're coming on, I want to say hi to everybody, especially Beth, who I know from a very young age. And I want to say, I want to remind you, you're here in our live stream bar. Thank you so much for coming. We are here every night at 9 p.m. Central. Pretty soon, we're going to have my bartenders will be able to come back and kind of do this with me, so you won't just have to listen to me all the time. But, you know, I've had some stuff on my mind, and I really appreciate the fact that you guys have been coming and hanging out with me. We do have a virtual tip jar. If you can, hit it on your way out. It's Venmo at the Cottonmouth Club -staff. If you can't, which I get because, again, we have no income, and a lot of other people don't either. You can support in other ways. You can help us share messages. If you could share videos that you see, if you go listen to the podcast. Podcasts are super cool. The CottonmouthClubPresents.com. And, you know, liking and sharing those things actually makes a big difference, and it helps us find another path that we can use to augment all this other things. So, you know, I appreciate you every day, and I appreciate the opportunity I get to come and hang out with you. So yeah, I'm now on a related mission, and that mission is I need people to understand what we've been asked to do, what we've been forced to do, told to do. And it has to be put in those terms. Because if you tell people that a stranger, in fact, a stranger that you didn't like, a lot of you, a stranger that you thought was kind of an asshole, you thought they were just kind of like, it's like, yeah, that's like that neighbor over there that I tell the kids, like, don't go near their yard. Because, you know, they sit on their porch and drink beer at night, and I don't know what it is in their backyard, but they're building something, and it's just weird. And like, look at that painting in the window. Like, this is just like that's the house where weirdos live. Like, stay away from those weirdos. And it turns out that they were the ones who are gonna, you know, take the bullet when someone comes running down the street with a gun. And then you're like, it was them the whole time? Like, they were the heroes? You know, it is one thing to say that everyone in hospitals on the front line are heroes, and it's very true. It's very true. Because they are risking themselves every day. My friend Rip Patel, he's an emergency room doctor. He's the associate professor of medicine for emergency medicine at Baylor University. He's out there every day all over the country. He got sick. He got COVID-19 and he got sick. He got very sick, and you know, and he's okay. But now he's okay, and he's back at work. He's back at work on the front lines dealing with all these people with COVID-19. I think today was the single biggest day of positive. Thank you so much. Of positive cases in Houston. I think there was like 6,500 today. Like, he's out there every day. And yeah, they're absolute heroes. But we don't think of the people who have to literally like put themselves at risk of dying in another way because they've been told to. And that's us. You know, and I don't need people to associate that with me. But you need to associate that with all of these people that now are facing enormous amounts of suffering in ways that a lot of other people weren't. Because a lot of people ask me all the time, they're just like, you keep saying bartenders need help. What about the plumbers? They need help too. I'm like, why? They can go back to work now. And a lot of them never had to stop. And no government ordered them that they're not allowed to be plumbers. And that no plumbing is allowed to go on in the United States. I mean, if this was some kind of like poison gas in the water main and plumbers were not allowed to like work, then yeah, absolutely be like, well, shit, what about all these plumbing companies? Like, they can't go out of business because as soon as this thing is over, we're going to need people to come back in and fix the shit in our house. Like, that makes sense. As soon as this shit's over, we're going to need people to come back and like, you know, I got a leaky faucet. I don't know how to fix that. I got to call a fucking plumber. And if there's no more plumbers left, then who am I going to call? And the The base fallacy of this whole thing is that people are looking at it saying like, oh, well, I mean, it's like people can't go drink in bars anymore. So, it's probably better. It'd be cheaper to drink at home. It's like, you're right, it's cheaper. And it kind of really highlights the fact that drinking is not the primary purpose of a bar. Any more than eating little wafers is the primary purpose of a church. Because if you don't know anything about Catholic Church and you're just like, what all culminates in this thing, or they all get in line and this guy puts a little wafer on their mouth and then they all go home. And we're like, well, I guess that's the place where you have to listen to the guy like say a sales pitch, and then you finally get that wafer that you've been waiting for, and then you leave. So if you don't know anything about Catholicism, like that's as good an explanation of the entire Catholic Mass as anything else. You're just like, okay, wafer accomplished. I don't know why they could have talked less and just ate the wafer in the beginning and then left. And maybe when they streamline the industry, someone will have the innovation of going like, well, why don't we just pass them out like at the door, and then people will just go back to like eat brunch. But that's not what a church is for. And in no more is a bar for drinking. It's where drinking happens. It's a very different thing. It's a place for people to gather, which establishes and builds community. And they gather in the presence of rhythm and music. And they gather in the presence of rhythm and music and people, and they consume alcohol, which is one of the oldest rituals in humankind. We are the original places of worship. We are doing the same thing that every culture since the dawn of alcohol, which is well over 10,000 years, have done, where they're just like, hey, wait, like drink, like eat this fruit. It's bad, but it makes you feel funny. Beat on that drum. Let's go make out in the corner, and then we'll see visions. I mean, that's a lot of people's Saturday night. And that's been the Saturday night for most of humanity for a long time. And then every once in a while, some clever boots comes along and says, like, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to get all the fermented fruits together and I'm going to say that they were brought down by some god I made up. Right? So bars are no more places that are just designed to consume alcohol than churches are to hold hands. Because that happens in a Catholic Mass too. And they're like, oh, everybody holds hands in the middle. That seems pleasant. I don't know why they waited so long, but okay. It is the exact same thing. And, because we have been required to sacrifice the well-being of our industry and our own personal well-being, how many bankruptcies will happen? How many people will get kicked out of their apartment in mid-July when all this shit runs out? How many people will literally look at their bank account and look at their wife just leaving them and look at the fact that all the stuff that they built over the course of their careers and their lives is gone to nothing? How many of them will look at it and say, like, I'm just going to commit suicide? Because it's going to happen. And that's just us. And that was my original thing, right? I was looking down that line saying, like, someone needs to acknowledge that we had to do this, because if we didn't, then everybody else would get sick and die. So why would we then not go to the people who forced us to do it and the people whose lives we're literally saving and say, you need to help us if you can? Because we don't have to die. We just can't do what our original purpose is. I mean, it makes sense, right? But the original message changed because once, especially when we got shut down again, is because what people also need to understand is even if you could look at, what did Puff say? Puff says cultures figured that out independently from each other. Yes, that's true. People have to understand that it's not just us, because you could be a bit callous and say, look, I'm really sorry for you and all your bartender buddies. I'm really sorry that like you tried to open this very dangerous business that really doesn't have any guarantees. I'm really sorry. And, but it was either you dying or everybody dying. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And I would take that, really. I would take that. I'd be like, you know what? Like, sometimes you're the dog, sometimes you're the tree. Like, sometimes somebody's got to die. That's it. But what people need to realize is that if we die, then all the good stuff withers up and fucking disappears too. The amount of money that we provide to the communities that we're in is enormous. Ask any state governor how much money they get from liquor sales and how much of that comes from bars. The amount of tourism dollars we bring in, the amount of money we bring from hotels, the amount of district building capability we have. I mean, that's what it is that we bring. So it's not just us, it's all of us. It's the cultural and economic wealth of society. It's the definition of the cities. I've said this in these videos, and that's the thing, is I need to find a way to say this message to people in whatever way is possible, because it is not also, it's not us. It's not just us, but it's also us. So I don't want to die. I don't want Lindsay to lose her business. I don't want Adam to get sick. I don't want fucking Stacy to get kicked out of his apartment. I don't want anyone that I know to have all these bad things happen to them, and that is very true. But if those things happen, the implications for the rest of society are fucking massive. They're massive, incalculable. And, you know, it's funny because in this scenario, like, you know, you say it and you say it and you say it, I'm going to keep it up. Like, I'm not going to stop. And I don't care, like now to some people it's kind of funny. Now it's kind of funny because they're just like, well, here we go with another video again. And now I'm getting to people saying like, well, I guess Nev wants to be a famous internet guy, so he's just going to do his like mad old guy shtick. And I'm like, okay, like by all means, like it's like at this point I don't have anything else to lose, because you've already taken away my ability to make any money. You've taken away the purpose of my entire career. You've threatened the lives and the livelihoods of every single person in this business that I hold dear, which is every bartender that exists. You've told me that I have to do it, and they do too, for the good of society, and then you just fucking disappeared. You just fucking disappeared and said like, good luck, pal. Hope you make it through. We'll see. So yeah, like what are you going to do? You know, what do I care about my reputation at this point? Which was never really that great in the first place, to be honest. You know, what do I care about? Like, oh my God, you're never going to win a Tails Award. What do I care? They're just like, wow, you know, like, oh, you know that big brand job you're waiting on, which I wasn't. But it's like, yeah, they'll never hire you. I'm like, who fucking cares? I'm looking at everything I hold dear about this business, every single thing, from the people who do it, largest to, like, smallest to large, to the entire community that bars serve and why they serve it and how. All of it is just going to go fucking poof. And I'm looking at all these people who are involved in this business and involved in these communities going like, we don't want to think about it. We just want to go to brunch. We just want you to stop talking. Please. You're like clogging up my Twitter feed. Because I can't come with one more. I can't come and just put out my instructional fucking martini video without you showing up going like, bars are dying. And you're like, great, bars are dying. Like, we're over here wanting to learn how to make martinis again.